to pay respects, to remember, and to celebrate the life of our beloved Luba, who accomplished so much in her life. And in our tradition, when we lose a parent, one of the 7 relatives that we must sit Shiva for, we tear a garment. And why do we tear the garment? We tear the garment because it's symbolic. A garment has been torn from us. A most beautiful garment has been torn. And we remember our loved one that way. And during the Shiva, we wear this garment. And for a parent, we tear over the heart, because our heart is broken to lose a Yiddish Mama, verlorene Mama. So we make a blessing, we accept God's judgment upon us. And that's a very sacred blessing when we refer to God as Dayan Ha'emes, the true judge. Because in our life, we really understand all of the things that happen. God's wisdom is infinite, and we are finite. And so many things happen that we really cannot understand. And yet, we must continue our tradition and our deep relationship with God that our ancestors celebrated in the old countries before they came to America. And we perpetuate our traditions. And so we protect our family when we accept God's judgment. It's a protection for our family, for our community. You know, the world has an expression. Maybe you heard it. They say death comes in threes. You ever heard this expression? It means sometimes, so it means that if that bad angel, as we would say, if that angel that we don't want that angel to visit us, when he comes to our family, when we accept God's judgment, it's a way of sending him away. Don't come here anymore. And so we make the blessing. We say, blessed are you, Almighty, ruler of the universe, Dayan Ha'emes, the true judge. And then Jay will help me. We're going to help Elizabeth to tear over her heart. So we'll make the bracha. Should we make the one? Yeah, okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Dayan Ha'emes. Amen. Amen. Now you must. He'll help you. You must pull. You should tear it. He'll help you. He'll help you. He'll help. Jay will help.
You pull, and I'm going to do this.
Oh, okay.
All right. Good. We're so set.
My name is Yosef Kirsch, and I'm at Menorah Park. I see many familiar faces here today. I see many people who've been at Menorah Park caring for your loved ones, and to see the devotion of children to parents in our community. The devotion that I see is what we would call legendary. Really, the respect, the honor, and the devotion of children that take care of parents. The great Rebbe, the Chofetz Chaim, he lived in a shtetl near Eisheshak. Maybe you heard from Eisheshak. Near Eisheshak was Radin, and the Rebbe said, he wrote in one of his holy books, he passed away in 1933, Rabbi Kagan, he was a Kohen, Rabbi Kagan, he passed away in 1933. He wrote in the late 1800s, communities that are making an old age home. In Hebrew, a moshav zekenim. Communities that are making an old age home and caring for their elderly, the Jewish communities that are doing it, because it was a newer phenomenon. It's a holy mitzvah. It's a sacred mitzvah. He said, we see in the communities that make a place to care for the elderly, that the elderly people are living much longer. They're extending the lives of the people. And if you save one life, one Yiddish neshama, it's like you saved the universe. And so the Rebbe says, imagine a community making an old age home to care for the elderly. And yet, every old age home is strained. There are limited workers, and each one does their best. Menorah Park is a very, very special place. My father, Olav Shalom, was there. My grandparents were there. But even still, there's no comparison when a child comes to take care of her mother, day in, day out, constantly thinking about the mother, constantly the mama on her mind. You know, thought is very holy. The Frierdiker Rebbe from Lubavitch, the Rebbe that was Rebbe in the 1920s, 30s, he explains that thought is the very holy part of the human being. What differentiates us from an animal? What makes us different from a behemoth, from a chaya, from an animal? That we have the intellect, we can think. And when Lisa, ganze Tag, trachten wegen der Mama, Tag and Nacht, day and night, thinking about her mother, caring for her mother. This is holy thoughts. This is the sanctification of the intellect. You know, Amerikanische Chevre, forgive me, but they're busy, they're worried about the video games and the other things. But in her mind, it was allemal the mama. And the mama knew it. And she lived longer because of it. No question in my mind. You extended her days. And all of you who have this devotion to a parent, the godly reward for such a thing, we cannot imagine. You know, we are in the time zwischen Pesach and Shavuos. We are between the holidays of Passover and the giving of the Torah, Shavuos. And God gave us the Torah. And we're so excited about it. We count every day. We count. Today is the 15th day of the Omer. We count every night from the Zweite Nacht Pesach, from the second night of Passover, Zeltman. We count to the giving of the Torah. And what did we get the Torah on Mount Sinai? Everyone knows the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments took all 613 commandments. And what is one of the 10 Commandments? Oh, that's right. Richtig. Thank you. Honor thy father and mother. This is one of the most holy mitzvahs in the Torah. Every mitzvah is holy. But to honor a father and a mother, it's the trademark of the Yiddish folk. And to have had the merit, I had the merit, really, to see Lisa constantly worried and caring for her mother, to see such a devotion. And I know other people here have this quality too. I understand. And I tell you, this is the Jewish people, an honor for the Jewish people, a lesson for our children. There is a very well-known Jewish story. It's told over to shock us. And it's even implied in the Talmud, in the Jewish Talmud. There was once a father, and he had an elderly father at his table, in a shtetl somewhere, a Jewish father, and his father was elderly. His hands shook a little bit. Je weet toch, als men werd älter, sometimes our hands shake. So it was Shabbos by an Tish, by the table on Shabbos, and the father was sitting with the family, and he was holding a china, and he dropped the plate, and it broke. So the next Shabbos, his son went, and he made his father a wooden plate, a teller, a wooden plate von Holz gemacht. He made a plate from wood. His wife said, "You're going to give your father a wooden plate? Everybody's eating china?" He said, "Well, it won't break. It's wooden." So it's not respectful, right? To give the father should sit with the wooden plate and everyone has china. And later on that week, the father is in the house and he sees his little boy. He has a small child and the child is carving something out of wood. So he says to his son, he says, "My boy, what are you doing? He said, you know, Daddy, just like you made a wooden plate for Grandpa, I'm making a wooden plate for you. So when you get old, I'll be able to have a wooden plate for you. Oh, it hits home. The way we teach our families, the way we live, that's what we give over to our children. And so today we have, of course, Lisa and her daughter and grandchildren. And may God bless us all that the message should be absorbed, that we should always care for our loved ones with the devotion and respect that Lisa gave her mother. We begin with a little prayer to celebrate her life, the Eishes Chayil. Now, I want to mention at this time that in our tradition, it's important to say Kaddish at the cemetery. So we want to try, if we could have 10 people, 10 men, come to the cemetery. It will be a big mitzvah. I will plan to say Kaddish in memory of Luba. It's not going to be a long service at the cemetery. Here we're spending some time we must honor, but at the cemetery we have to bring her to rest. It will be a brief service, so whoever could come, it's much appreciated. Okay. Eishes Chayil miyimsa v'rochak mipnini michra. A gallant woman who can find far beyond pearls is her worth. Botach balei baila v'shala lo yechsar. Her husband's heartfelt trust is in her, and he shall lack for nothing. Kamalas toy v'loira kol yemei chayeha. She bestows good upon him and never harm all the days of her life. Kamu v'namei ashrua. Her children arise and praise her. Baila v'yahalaleha. Her husband lauds her. Rabos bonos asechoyel v'yaralis al kulana. Many daughters have accomplished well, but you surpass them all. Sheker achein, grace is false. V'hevel ayofi, beauty is vain. Isha yiras Adonai hisis halol. A woman in awe of God, she should be praised. Tnula mipriyodeha, give her the fruits of her own hand. V'yahalelua basharem maseha, and let her deeds praise her in the gathering places. And now we can recite the Mizmor LeDavid together. Mizmor, well, I will say in Hebrew, and then we could recite in English together. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo yechsar, b'noi steshe yarbitzeni al mei menuchas yinahaleni, nafshi yeshev v'yancheni v'magle tzedik leman shemoi, gam ki elech v'geit salmoves lo irara ki ato imodi, shivtecha mishantecha heime yinachamuni, tarech lefonai shilcha neged tzedidoi, Dishanta v'Hashem en roishi koisi revoya, ach, toiv v'chesed yedefuni kol yemei chayoi, v'shamti beveis Adonai lorich yamim. A song of David, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lush pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your scepter and staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in full view of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for length of days. And I heard something from the Rebbe, the Chofetz Chaim, this rabbi, the same rabbi. A man wanted to know if he should take up a good cause. But it would be a lot of work. So it was a lot of work. So he traveled to Rabbi Kagan in Radin to ask the rabbi if he should take up the good cause. So the rabbi said, he walked into him, and the rabbi had said this prayer, what we just said, because you say it sometimes when you bless. And he said, look what it says. We just read it. May only goodness and kindness pursue me. Yirdefuni, it's pursuit, chase. May only goodness and kindness chase me all the days of my life. So the Rebbe said, everyone's going to have something to worry about. This is life. We will be chased. Either we'll be chased by troubles, or we'll be chased by good things. So you took upon yourself, Lisa, You took upon yourself that you were chased with good deeds, that this was your burden, so to speak. You came all the time. You took your mother's care so seriously. And this is a great merit, that you chose. Everyone's going to have troubles, but you took upon yourself mitzvahs, good deeds. This was your devotion. This was very sacred and special. Lubov, her yahrzeit will always be the 28th of Nisan. She was born to her father Eli and her mother Chana in the Dnepropetrovsk in the Ukraine. Eli was a shichmacher, a shoemaker, and the children were Sophia, who was born in 1916, Isaac in 1921, Alex passed away sadly very young in the 1930s, and he was born in the 1930s, and Lubov was born in 1927. In 1941, when she was 16, the unimaginable horrors of the war began. There was bombing and tragedy, and she lost an eye. And she was always an emotional woman, filled with love for her family throughout her life. The family escaped at that time to Azerbaijan, and they lived there for 5 years. Then they relocated to Kharkov. One already can imagine all the troubles to raise a family in those days. America, we're used to living in a place with peace. Thank God. We can't really imagine what it was like for them. And they relocated to Kharkov, and that's where she met Aaron. And they communicated for 5 years, a devotion to the man who would be her husband, to Aaron. For 5 years they communicated, and she married Aaron in 1951. And Aaron Volnikova, of course. Now, Aaron was also a shoemaker. He was known as the best shoemaker in Kharkov. And their daughter, Elisaveta, was born in 1953. And Luba was caring for her parents at that time. And the family was in one room. Imagine the family living like this in one room. We said, I really feel, in America we cannot achieve in a 5,000 square foot house what these people achieved with one room. And Luba cared for her parents. She cared for Chana. Aaron died in 1965, was a great tragedy. Luba was widowed as a young woman. I think he was 39 years old, Aaron. Imagine. He died in 39 years old. Avec Nebuch. And then Luba and Lisa, they cared for each other. Lisa and her mother, caring for each other, taking care. Luba was a saleswoman, and Lisa was in school. Lisa went to beauty school in Kharkov, and she graduated beauty school. In Taka, she's a beautiful person. Both worked very hard, and working very hard, they had a better life at that time, because both Lisa and her mom were working. In 1973, the wonderful thing happened. Lisa met Michael, and of course, that for her, a special, special time. And Luba made Lisa a very nice wedding. She gave an Ashena Chastina, and the family came. Luba's family, of course, was at the wedding, whoever was in that time. And Eleanor was born in 1977 in the same room. You hear? In the same room. In 1979, the family emigrated to America. Luba wanted to be with our other family members, so she wanted to come here. And Michael was telling me how appreciative they are for America. They're very pleased with their decision. They could come here and raise a Yiddish mishpucha. At the beginning, the family lived in Coventry and then in Mayflower. And Stephen was born in 1982. Again, Luba always cared for her grandchildren, spending time with them, caring for them. And then, over the last 5 years, she needed special care. Luba herself, after giving all those years, giving so much, she took ill. She came to Menorah Park. One of the happy events in her life was when Eleanor married in 2008, and that marriage gave Luva two beautiful great-grandchildren that we have here today, Alexander and Ethan. What a wonderful gift for Luba, Yiddish Kinder, that entered the Jewish covenant in the right way with the God-fearing, beloved Moel, someone special in our community, Rabbi Koval, and that's a very special gift that, of course, will forever be to Luba. At this time, I want to call Luba's granddaughter to say a few words about her grandmother.
Здравствуйте все. Нам очень приятно, что вы все пришли сегодня. Я буду говорить по-английски. Я думаю, все понимают. My grandmother's name is Lubov Volnikova. Her name, Lubov, translates in English to the word love. She was exactly the definition of love. My grandmother did not live an easy life. She endured the war, as the rabbi said, where she lost her eyesight. And ironically, up until yesterday, I didn't know, she told me that she lost it playing with her brother and she fell. I just learned the truth was during the war. So she tried to protect me and didn't want me to know the truth, how she lost her eye. Soon after, she became a widow. She lost her husband at a very young age, and she was left a single mother. She was an extremely strong woman who cared for her own mother and raised her daughter in a time when women did not do this alone. She spent the rest of her life committed to her daughter and then to her young family. After I was born and my family immigrated to America, my parents, who were only in their 20s, were forced to work very long hours to establish themselves in a new country. Along with my other grandparents, Baba Luba raised my brother and me. It's crazy to think she was the age I am now, then, but due to circumstances, she never got the same privileges that I have. She never got an education, she never learned English, she never even learned how to drive a car. She spent the rest of her life raising myself and my brother and helping my parents as much as she could. Now, having said all this, she wasn't the easiest at times. I used to call her my diva grandmother. What made her so strong also made her a challenge. She complained a lot, especially about food. She would be the first person to tell me, I don't like your hair. What'd you do? I don't like it. Then she would also be the first person to say, you've gained some weight. What's going on? 2 minutes later, she would say, you're skin and bones. Let's go eat something. Wait, where am I? I've heard stories where she used to go upstate New York in the summertime with her sister and my cousins. And my cousins still tell me she was the biggest cheater at cards and would deny it through and through and drove them all crazy. But in some ways, this was all part of her charm. I remember in high school, every time I had a big test, I would call her. And she would always say the right things to give me confidence I needed to do well. Even through college, I would still call her. I will never forget this. I will also never forget her Napoleon cake. If anyone had the privilege of ever eating her cake, it was out of this world. No store or restaurant could ever touch her cake. The latter part of her life she spent in a nursing home. It wasn't easy for her, nor was it easy for my mother. A week from today, we will celebrate Mother's Day. There is no one that deserves this day more than my own mother. She cared for my grandmother in the most loving and passionate way a human could. For the last 4.5 years, almost 5, my mother was at the nursing home 2 to 3 times every single day, all while still working and helping me with my boys. She would do whatever she could to keep her happy and comfortable. And close your ears, Rabbi. She would even go as far as sneaking food in, just to make her happy so she would be comfortable at the nursing home. We always knew that Baba was very picky about food, and we always knew her level of alertness based on her level of complaining about food. My mother would make sure she had the most comfortable slippers and clothing and would come cut her hair and bathe her when needed. Toward the end, there was no more need to sneak the food in. Baba Luba was in a state where it didn't matter anymore. My mom would still come 2 to 3 times a day and spoon feed her to ensure she received nutrition. Mom, you're my hero. My grandmother lived a very long life, and as someone once told me, it's a privilege to have lived so long. It was a privilege that she was present for the birth of her great-grandchildren and to have seen them grow. However, as hard as it is that she's gone now, the privilege was actually all of ours, in having our Baba Luba with us as long as we did. She was the last grandmother of all the grandparents, and in some ways, it's the end of an era. But her life will always remain a legacy to us, her strength, her charisma, and of course, her love. And on good news, we're going to celebrate more love. And I know she knows that Stephen's going to get married in 4 weeks, and we'll have joyous occasion, and she will be present there in our hearts. Thank you.
So very eloquent. And it's just like you say, really. You know, we have a tradition by the chuppah. By a Yiddish chasna, machmen a chuppah. And at the chuppah, the souls of our loved ones come down to be at the chuppah. Why? Because we are their Geschäft of die Welt. We are their continuity on this world. All the good deeds they did, it becomes our responsibility to continue. And so their souls come down because we are going to perpetuate their memory and their deeds by the way we lived. And that's why the burial is so sacred, holy. The body in Judaism is so holy. We bring our loved one to rest in wood. Wood is symbolic of life. Never metal, God forbid. Metal is for war, weapons. The Holy Temple, we were not allowed to build the altar with metal, chisels. No chisels. When we made the Holy Temple, the altar, only rock you could use maybe, but no chisels. Metal is for war, weapons, swords. We bury our loved one in wood. Wood is like our Torah we call the tree of life. Eitz Chaim, the tree of life. Our loved one rests temporarily in life, in wood, until the time when God will restore our loved one to us, like the butterfly comes forth from the caterpillar in the tomb. We call it a cocoon, but really it's just resting, and God will rejuvenate us by our good deeds. And so when we go to the resting place of our loved one, we put a stone on the monument. It's our tradition. We're building their monument. We're building the monument to show that we are going to live the way they taught us, and we're going to do good deeds like they taught us. So we're always building their monument with a stone. That's our tradition. At this time, we wanted to mention, did you want to mention the Shiva information? Did you could come to the microphone. Okay.
Welcome to join us for a Shiva at my home after the cemetery. I'm on 24420 Brighton Road in Beechwood. I'm happy to.
That's 24420 Brighton Road in Beechwood. That will be after we bring Luba to rest. Okay. Until about 5 o'clock. Okay. All right. At this time, we would ask the pallbearers to come forward.